Hey everybody, I hope you're well and I hope you've been taking advantage of the absolute lovely weather we've had here in the UK because we don't get much of it. Now this evening I've had the absolute pleasure of interviewing Andrew Archer, the CEO of Aitheon. Obviously incredibly busy, the build up to the ICO which takes place tomorrow, and I got to spend a good 40 or 50 minutes with Andrew talking about the project, talking about some key information that you're going to want to know that's in the video. This guy's an overall proper cool dude. Really enjoyed speaking to him, and I really do hope you enjoyed the video. Hey everybody, hope you're well. It's James here for the Part-Time Entrepreneur and Crypto Rookies, and I have the absolute pleasure today to interview the top dog over at Aitheon, and that is Andrew Archer. Welcome, Andrew, to the channel.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Obviously, you've just had quite a long flight. How was that?
It was pretty good. It was 3 hours this time. I'm out here in Dallas, actually meeting up with another ICO, and so getting to see some friends I haven't seen for a while. And yeah, you know, the ICO life, it's just constant travel. No sleep. I will not sleep tonight.
Yeah, I know that. I know that feeling, my friend.
It is.
It is. Crypto world is a completely different thing, and I'm up all hours doing interviews and stuff. So it's very cool, and I wouldn't do anything else. So obviously, I've seen you on. I've read your white paper. I got incredibly excited about that. Then obviously, I've seen some videos of you on YouTube. Really great. You know, I thought, wow, this guy's really, he knows his stuff. So I thought, I've got to interview you and I've got to get to know you a bit better. So I thought, I wrote a few questions down, just some icebreakers, just so the viewers can get to know you a little bit better. So my first question is, you know, when you're not working on Aitheon, you know, what is your hobbies and what do you like to do?
Probably my biggest hobby is working on Lily, our autonomous Jeep. I actually built Lily from the ground up, and when I was younger, my first degree when I was very young was in machining and welding and machine design. So getting back in the lab, using our water jet, machining things, welding, building new things on Lily, and then taking Lily out is just really it calms me down from the daily stress of, business and everything else we have going on, all the projects, and just getting out there. That's probably my favorite thing to do.
Awesome. Yeah. And where's the best place that you've taken the Jeep?
Pismo Beach, by far. So Pismo Beach is north of Los Angeles, about 4 hours. And it's actually, they've cultivated a beach in all these dunes where you can take your off-road rig or whatnot out right next to the ocean. And you can see this in my Instagram. When I have to get a lot of code done or I have to really concentrate on something, I'll take Lily out to Pismo Beach, and you can see my tent out, and I just sit there and I crunch the problem and I solve it. And it's just this really enchanting place where the waves are crashing and you can really just focus. Nice. It's a really great place. Yeah. I recommend anyone in that area to go.
It sounds great, awesome. Yeah. And then obviously, you've got to keep yourself fueled up. What is your favorite food? What keeps you going?
Oh man, my favorite food. Well, Las Vegas has everything. So 24 hours. So I actually am partial to a lot of Asian delicacies. Mostly dim sum. Dim sum is my favorite. If I can find good dim sum, like Zalambao soup dumplings, I am happier than a clam. I could eat those for the rest of my life, probably.
Yeah.
If it was the only thing I could eat, that would be it, right?
Because Vegas, they have so much, so much choice there. It's unbelievable. I know when I was there.
It's Vegas is crazy. It actually works really well with our work environment because we're up 24/7. Luckily, the Strip never sleeps, or the Vegas area never sleeps, so we always have access to food or whatever we need. Yeah,
Oh, that's
so it
awesome.
works well. It actually works really well.
And
Yeah.
obviously, if you could go on holiday and you could go absolutely anywhere on the planet, where would it be?
Actually, that just happened. So on
Okay.
top, when we were traveling in Europe, meeting with different ICOs, different customers, and whatnot, we actually had a couple spare hours, right? And on the top of my bucket list, weirdly enough, is to go to Chernobyl,
Okay.
which is like the last place anyone would ever want to go on vacation. Um, how often you say, "Oh yeah, I want to go to the largest nuclear disaster in the history of mankind." But that's actually where I would go, and that's what I did. And so I got to cross that off my bucket list here a couple of weeks ago, which was very interesting.
Okay. And why Chernobyl? Because obviously that's quite an interesting choice.
Um, so with with technology and what I'm working on and what I've worked on in the past, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with knowing what we're doing and going forward and the businesses that rely on us and the things we're presenting to mankind. And with that comes responsibility. And, Chernobyl is one of those places that surprisingly not a lot of people know about or know the story behind it and what exactly happened. And essentially, with nuclear power comes a lot of responsibility, and when you mismanage those responsibilities or um, you think you're smarter or more powerful than you actually are, then you can have catastrophic results. You no longer respect what you're working on.
Mm.
And so seeing that firsthand and just understanding that was really important to me.
Okay.
And it's very humbling. So that's actually why I've always wanted to go, is just to experience what really took place and how that can affect people.
No, I think that's a very interesting choice. Uh,
Yeah.
probably one of the most interesting I've heard. Actually, that's really
Yeah.
interesting.
How from
So obviously, you are the man about robots. Obviously, we can tell by the video you're so passionate about this. Where did this, when did this passion start?
So what was it? I was very young and in detention of all places.
So you're a rebel
Too
then.
hype in my class, I like took apart the pencil sharpener, did something they didn't like. So I was always in detention. But so I'm in detention and there's a pile of magazines there and I was flipping through them. And I come across Time magazine. And on the cover of Time magazine is one of the Mars rovers. It was Sanjur. And I just saw it and I'm like, that is actually substantial. Like that means something. Um, and so I started looking through the magazine and looking at the diagrams. I mean, they're very rough diagrams, right? They're just for the general population to understand. And I was just fascinated by all of the inner workings, everything that was taking place. And I just decided from that moment on that I was going to build robots. And this is before there was a career called a roboticist, or before robots were mainstream. Still fairly abstract, and that's just what I wanted to do, and I've never wavered from that. Even in my younger years, when people thought, "Oh, that's not a job, or that's not a thing, or you should do something different," like whatever it was, just a normal engineer, structural or mechanical. I just never wavered. I just knew that's what I wanted, and I just stuck at it.
Wicked. Sticking to your guns, I like that. And I think that's when the best things are made as well. So obviously, the whole Aitheon project is a huge vision and it's very unique. How did you come up with that?
So Aitheon is actually quite old project. It's about 7 years now, and might actually be older than that. But I was building these robots. I was actually at Chrysler putting together engine line robots, these little mobile robots that moved around. And I saw the strangest thing happen that I never would have thought would happen. And there was actually this dynamic between humans and machines that took place where humans actually it's that idea that everyone is so afraid of, like human versus machine, and they actually attacked the robots because they considered them to be an enemy that was taking their coworkers' jobs, could possibly take their job. And I saw this strange dynamic unfolding. And now, on the other hand, being an entrepreneur and coming from a family that's always been entrepreneurs, I know the business struggle side of things, where you have all of these responsibilities. You need to make sure, you're doing proper projections, accounting, meeting with attorneys, coming up with new visionary ideas to make sure your business continues, and meeting with accountants. Then there's this paper that needs to be filled out, or you need to apply for this permit or do this or that. And then you have all these employees, and there's just so many things an entrepreneur has to take into their mind and manage. And while they're doing that, they're expected to be creative, visionary, and be able to create those new and innovative things. And it's a struggle, and it consumes a lot of people. And so taking those two concepts together, and being in the entrepreneurial state at that time, knowing what I was going through, working endless hours, getting all this done, I just longed for something that would take the mundane things, all of those tasks that clouded my vision, and took away from my creativity, or my ability to create new things. And I thought, what if we could make something to do that, and make it in a way that everyone could use. There's a lot of things out there that can do this, like process automation and things like that, but they're all used by Fortune 500 companies, or companies that have mass development teams to manage these systems. And really, it's for the small to mid-sized business owner, and the entrepreneur, or just the startup, right? They don't have these tools available that these companies do. So I really took a lot of these things we were developing for these large companies and rolled them into Aitheon, and then made them into a system that was easy to use. Kind of what I've always told the development team and whatnot is, if it's not as easy as QuickBooks, and if my mom can't use it, then we wrong, right? We just fail. So, and that's why it's taken so many years to do this, because I understand not everyone is a roboticist. Not everyone knows how to code. It needs to be simple. It needs to work, and it needs to work every time. And that is the hard part. Okay. So that's where it came from.
And so, in terms of, obviously, you've talked about certain elements. I know there's the digibots, mechbots. Can you just tell me some of those solutions, and give the viewers a quick sort of brief overview of those nodes as such?
Definitely. So yeah, there's this defining line between Aitheon, and it's really whether you're operating in the physical realm or the digital realm, right? And that's where the differentiation is. And on the digital side, we're creating tools that do, project management, financial controlling, full automation of accounting, down to procurement, cash flow projection, making decisions that a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners that never took a business class, they just kind of did their thing or created something, right? Mm-hmm. Insights they just wouldn't know, right? And so we're building all of these things into this tool to help them be successful. And then, task management, better management of employees, human capital, things like that. Um, Project management, how to effectively manage a project through um, manufacturing resources, warehouse distribution, and then tying all of these things together to create a symbiotic relationship on the digital side of a business, because all of those things affect one another and affect the decision to be made. And so it's really that side, the Digibot side, is designed to augment that owner into making the best decisions. And then eventually, as they learn how the owner makes decisions, start making decisions on behalf of the owner. So they can really focus on what matters to them, why they started this business in the first place, why they even wake up every day, right? Because if you take that zest out of life, that passion, what's left, right? You're just going to work again, and we don't want that. No one wants that. So then on the physical realm, obviously software only gets you so far, and that's a lot of the problems we see right now. So what we did in Aitheon is Aitheon from the beginning was designed to interact with the real world. And so what we've done is there's a seamless transition between these basically operating clusters, these digibots, and then these mechanical devices, IoT, robots, CNC machines, warehousing robots. We also like automated vehicles, parking robots. We're doing all these different things. And so those actually can directly communicate with those other nodes that we call digibots that are managing the digital life of a company. And they can issue tasks to those physical devices, those physical robots. So, for example, in manufacturing, if you got an order and you need to build, widget XYZ, and it requires these parts and to be ran in this CNC machine, or to do this, the system will automatically queue all of that up, issue tasks to the physical robots to go gather the parts. The software will automatically be loaded into the CNC machines. There's waiting for tooling. And all of this happens in real time. And we've actually tested this in our lab because we have all of these machines to work with, fortunately. So we're using like Haas CNC machines, universal robotic arms, ABB equipment, and then our driverless vehicles, obviously, and our little robots. But yeah, so that's kind of the differentiation in how the entire platform works. So the idea is eventually these business owners who are running the software, the digital aspect of our platform, can eventually transition into these mechanical robots and physical robots in the real world to now augment their business and assist them even more.
Okay. And then in terms of those, what it can do, what would be some of the early use cases that you would see Aitheon being used for in sort of like the early stages?
Yeah, so what we're seeing is there's actually an influx of small businesses, so coffee shop, restaurants, those types of businesses, small, like hardware stores, things like that. So those businesses are coming online very quickly. Especially we're working on some food automation, which you can see on Instagram. Of our robot making pancakes or things like that for the restaurant community. And then we're working on some things for coffee shops with a similar technology. So we see those small companies coming on board, but then also the larger companies. We've worked with large corporations our entire business life, right? Those were our real customers originally, and so we're working on large warehousing projects, parking automation, manufacturing automation is large for us. So we have a really broad spectrum of clients that are using this and are interested in it. So those are a lot of use cases. Yeah, I know.
It's and that's what got me excited about the project, that there was like the use cases are a little bit endless in a sense, but like the airport parking one was like, oh, that would be awesome. Just roll up.
Yeah, especially when you consider like the creators program. Once you tie that into it, and for those watching that don't know about the creators program, what we did is we knew from the beginning that we wouldn't be able to imagine everyone's dream. Like, everyone has their own idea and their own way they want to do a business, or maybe they want a product or they want something. And so we developed the creators program, which I spend all of my time almost using. And that's where you can actually interface with the inner workings of Aitheon, make customized scripts, customize like AI nodes, down to, actually we have these system on a modules. They're little chips you can buy from us that directly interface with Aitheon. So you don't need to be an electrical engineer anymore or a computer scientist to, tie all of these things together, right? We've kind of built this framework. So now you can buy one of these chips and, with some basic knowledge, and we're putting together courses so people can actually learn how to do this. You can make your own product or your own widget and control it from Aitheon. And then not only that, but once you have this, maybe someone else wants that. So you can actually release it onto the Aitheon marketplace, and other people using Aitheon might want to buy that and use it in their systems. So it's really this ever fulfilling thing that I think is going to be, I'm very excited to see how people use it and create with it and learn from it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. When I read a lot of white papers, and I'm just like, next. And I go, oh, Aitheon, hang on a minute. And when I started reading, I got really excited because there was a couple of things about, one little, I'm a bit of a geek anyway, so I love all like the robotic stuff and gadgets. I mean, I've got loads of gadgets that you can't see just here right now. But the one thing was that you guys are so unique. This isn't like, maybe like a crypto credit card or some of the project out there. This is so unique. People just can't go and, I'm just going to copy what Andrew's done, because it's going to be pretty much next to impossible for what you've created.
It'll take them a long time.
Yeah. You'll see, there'll be a line of them down the beach doing code. Right, Andrew, yeah.
Right.
They'll be, I heard this was the best place to come and do it. Yeah, all right, mate.
I agree. That's what's going to happen. Yeah.
So, obviously, you're incorporating blockchain into this whole project. Can you just tell me, how does that all work?
Yeah, definitely. So that's the big question, right? It's like, oh, robots, all of this is great. Well, blockchain is actually critical to all of this working. Because that, as I'd mentioned earlier, the one thing about this for it to be successful is it has to work right all the time and every time, especially for businesses to adopt this and take any project for that matter seriously. And so what we did is, there's two knowns really in robotics and artificial intelligence, and that's the first one is robots are really good at doing one specific task, but if there's any deviation from that task, they have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
They struggle with context, and so does artificial intelligence. And so that leads directly into the next thing is, a lot of AI in robotics is just generally not very intelligent at all. I mean, we look at the robots we have now, and then we look at an infant, right? Mm-hmm. Human infant, and it's almost as if the infant has more capacity than a lot of our robotic technology, unless it's in a very particular manner. And so knowing this, what we did is we said, okay, we we know artificial intelligence will get us this far and is great at defined tasks. And we know humans are, dynamic thinkers and are their reasoning skills are great. So what we did is we used blockchain to essentially um, solve the problems of these robots and artificial intelligence as they run into them. And so um, the best way that I can explain this is, say we're using some OCR algorithm or some computer vision program to read a document. Well, someone hand wrote this document, and the computer has no idea how to read this handwriting, right? Because it's someone's unique handwriting, and it just fails. Well, instead of that just failing and the entire process failing, the the neural network will get to a point where it says, I don't know what I'm doing, and I need help. And so what it'll actually do is go out to all of our specialists, which is actually job creation now. So we've added job creation into everything. And these specialists are out there essentially mining these issues and coming to a collective understanding of what that document really means. And returning that response to the algorithm. Now, while all this is happening, we get thousands of results, right? So thousands of different interpretations of what this document may be. And now we can actually use that as a training set for that algorithm in the future. So we've augmented artificial intelligence using human intelligence, and we're constantly building these training models to give AI better dynamic responses. And so that's kind of how the blockchain ties into this. And as all of this is mined and processed, then it's rewarded to these miners. And then, the blockchain is also used as a means of transaction between organizations on the platform. So everything is happening in real time, because right now with banks, if we had organizations on Aitheon trying to do business together through ACHs, for example, you're looking at a processing time of 3 days.
Wow.
And that's how the world works right now. It's very bizarre, right? Or you're running on, letters of credit. And so what if, really when it came down to that question is, if these businesses can transact immediately, and we work with all of our mining pool and everything, that's the optimal solution, right? That's the future. And so that's what we really built around the blockchain. Blockchain actually enabled that, because we had spent years trying to work with banks to automate processes through ACH, and it's just not something that unless you're one giant organization versus these small businesses, they don't want you on the ACH network.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
And I think that the whole blockchain space is getting loads of traction, because we had the head of the Bank of England say, 10 years time, I don't think banks will exist. They'll be it'll be completely different, the landscape and everything that we see. And one of the interesting things is that, I suppose, the question on people's lips is that they're talking about, well, surely if there's robots, more efficiencies, it's going to take jobs. But obviously, you're creating quite a lot of jobs. So how do you see that sort of that swing? Because obviously that's good. That feels like there's a whole bunch of new skills people need to learn, maybe even a new industry.
Right, and that's really that's one of the big things about Aitheon for me. Besides, obviously, I love to do robots, but the other thing is I like to, incite passion and ideas and creativity. And, the idea of the 9-to-5 job, it wears people out and it wears them down, and they become stagnant. And I think what businesses end up seeing is low productivity, then they decide to bring in robots, and then it turns into this cyclical cycle. And we're at an all-time high right now of job dissatisfaction. I forget the statistic. I'm sure the users can look it up, but it's extremely high. Most of us hate our jobs, right? And that's just not a good place to be. No one wants to be there. I mean, in a perfect world, and everyone I talk to I tell them, like, if you wake up tomorrow or the next day or the next day, and you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I don't like what I'm doing, that's a problem, right? Or you're stationary. And so what we've done with Aitheon is, now that we've created, these robots need help, right, from humans. And we've created all these different ways for humans to help them. And we are actually starting to build curriculum around that and training programs. So everyone that has a different type of skill set, or fits into certain groups that these robots need help with, they're now have a job that they can work remotely and work when they need to. Because Aitheon is built on blockchain and consensus, that means you don't have to be there 100% of the time. Now you can, if you're online and you're working, and your child wakes up and it's time for them to school, you can log off and enjoy those moments in your life that really matter, like taking them to school, or making sure you see that sports game for them or your family, or maybe it's taking that trip across the world. Who knows what it is, but being able to work dynamically and actually work at a job that is there consistently, and then also generates good revenue, is the only way we're really going to be more productive and more fulfilling. That's the only way I see us succeeding as a race, because where we're going right now, we're just creating a lot of people, unhappy people.
Yeah, it's like the hamster wheel, isn't it? Just everyone getting on and going, go on. And I think that's the problem sometimes, is that people don't have, that they don't know what's next or what to do. And it sounds like you are offering a potential opportunity where people can break that 9 to 5 cycle.
Exactly. And I really hope people take advantage of it, and they're not afraid to experience the world, and that Aitheon will give them that opportunity. And that's my hope on the job side, definitely.
Yeah, I was actually in Vegas ages ago, and I went to watch a seminar with Richard Branson, and he was talking like one of the major things was flexibility. And that ties into all the trends, because we're just crazy. We're just here, there, everywhere, social media, on your Facebook, whatever. And he was saying that was the number one thing, because he's got something where people can have as much holiday as they want, as long as they get the job done. And he says no one takes the mick, because he offers that flexibility, so people can, like you say, take their kids to school. And I'm just seeing that, especially by these like visionary guys like Richard Branson, yourself, trying to create something very, very different. Which again is very, very cool. Now,
thank you.
Now I'm not stalking you on Instagram thing, but I've been looking at all the social media and all different bits and pieces. And obviously there was a little bit of a little trailer. You were in Mumbai. I know that you've got a whole bunch of great things in the background that you're working on. I know you can't probably say too much at this moment in time, but can you just give the viewers a little bit of a teaser of what they could potentially expect and when?
Definitely. So we're working on some massive projects for Aitheon to be a part of, and I think that's really important for any project to have, is these anchor projects. And so I was hoping to release this week what we're working on, but when it comes to these projects, there's so many lawyers involved and legalities and things like this, and there's actually not very many ICOs, if any, that really are involved this deeply in large projects, or even, government advisement and the things we're involved in. And so what we're going to be seeing over the next couple of weeks are relationships coming out that are just unbelievable. We're working on some of the largest projects in the world with Aitheon, and Aitheon is being adopted by governments and all sorts of different things. And it's actually taken on a life further than I initially thought it would.
Okay.
The reception has been so positive that it's just very exciting, and I'm definitely excited for everyone who gets involved, because this is going to be a life-changing ride for everyone. It's really unique.
And I think that's going to really drive the ICO, because obviously we'll have the beginning with some great bonuses, and then the release of this news will I think will give especially investors that real confidence in what you guys are doing, because there's a lot of people out there that just don't have the product up front, which is, and I'm really excited because obviously some of the stuff I'm seeing in Instagram, I went away, I did a little research to say what companies are in that district, and just been a bit nosy and trying to stick one-on-one together, try and make two, and I think I might be close.
If you look closely, and you can come to some idea. Obviously, I can't say anything, but you can probably figure it out. And having a product actually finished is very important, and that's why we've gained so much traction, is because we've actually let these companies try out different features, that we've let them experience what we have to offer. You can see us on Instagram. We're in the labs in Mumbai, and static anti-static outfits, working on electronics, and working on those SOM modules for the creators program. And when you have these components, and especially it's an awesome driverless Jeep and all these things, these lab full of robots, and you bring customers in and say, this is what we can provide for you, kind of everything I've explained in this interview. When you first approach them, they're very like, no, it's just too good to be true. But then when you say, well, come try, try it. All of these toys, come and try one, pick one, and tell us what your experience is. And after they experience it, the reaction is always, I want to be a part of this. Awesome. How do we get? And so that's what we're seeing, and we have to have, especially for the token holders and everyone involved, we have to have all the legal agreements dotted and T'd correctly before. And we're not very hypey. We don't, unless we have it done, we're not talking about it.
Because that's probably one thing that there are certain projects out there that are hyped way beyond their potential, should we say? And you guys, I think you're underhyped. Like, I can't hype you enough in a sense, because once I've reading how unique it was, thinking, right, no one's going to copy this. So this is a great project. The future is robotics and AI. You look at any other technology out there, and everyone's driving towards this AI and efficiencies and money saving and stuff. And for me, it was just crazy. And I suppose the big question for me is that you guys already had a pre-ICO, and you smashed that out of the park when the market was really struggling. I've seen some other great projects raise less than what you raised in your pre-ICO. So what's sort of your secret to success there?
It's really having that product. It's bringing that product and bringing it to these clients and showing them, look, we can actually do what we're saying. Because there's so many ICOs out there and so many projects out there that have this grandiose idea, and they have nothing to show for it. And then when you start questioning them and really pressing them hard, you realize this grandiose idea is just a house of cards. They don't actually know how to implement it, how to carry it forward, how to give it, life beyond that initial um, launch, and then how to sustain this, right? Um, so there's no plan really or way to do that. And because we've been doing this for so long, and because we have these products in place, we can just say, here's a robot, try it, tell us what you think. And when we went to BTC Miami, we brought, you know, a $70,000-$80,000 robot, right? The whole thing set up was about that. And we handed a controller to random people who've never used a robot in their life and said, here, pilot this robot over Aitheon. We were streaming data over a cell phone because the Wi-Fi there was so bad. And tell us what you think, right? And we really have let the tech do the talking. You know, we're not here to sell you on something or whatnot. It's try it and then you'll believe. And you can see the videos from that and whatnot on the internet, and people are pouring themselves drinks with a robot autonomously, you know, across the way, just controlling it seamlessly. And you can see the latency is so low and it's so smooth that it really creates a lot of confidence in what we're doing. So that's the secret, is just to, you know, have what you say you have.
Okay. So. Now, and again, that was one of the big things, is that you guys, obviously, I realised there's some history, and then you actually physically have a product, and that's something that I look for in other projects that I look at as well. It's just because there is 90% of the companies aren't going to be here in a year or two time, but I can see you guys like really sort of punching forward and driving the space, and that's probably one of my biggest biggest things I tick on my list, that you're unique, you know, that you've got big visions, and actually in 3-4 years time this will probably be bigger than some of the stuff out there as well. So really interesting. Obviously, you guys have moved to the city that never sleeps. What was sort of some of the decisions behind that?
Yeah.
Apart from you not sleeping and wanting to eat at all different times and stuff.
Yeah, we were actually in San Francisco before this, and I love San Francisco. Don't get me wrong; it is absolutely beautiful, and we had a gorgeous office down. Actually by Salesforce. And what started to happen is there's this trend in San Francisco where they're making it very difficult for tech companies. This has been going on for a while. Everyone kind of knows this. But then they came out and started to proposition this idea to ban mobile robots, right? Mobile robots on the sidewalks, delivery robots, things like that. And that's a huge part of our business, is mobile robotics. We do them for parking, warehousing, manufacturing automation, and you know, one of the things we're working on is delivery. And when this started to happen, it was a direct attack on what we were trying to do, what we were bringing to San Francisco, right? What we're offering there. And so we started to look elsewhere. And we were considering, you know, leaving the United States or going to a different place. And Nevada, the state of Nevada, actually created this incubation program, and they had reached out to us, and they said, hey, don't leave, come, let us fly you out here. And we want to show you what you could do here. Just come, take a couple days, and we will show you why you should move your business to Nevada. And a lot of this was pinning around Tesla had just they did the same thing with Tesla, actually.
Okay.
They caught Elon before he was going to Texas. This is the story they told me, but and then brought him to Trick and said, just build here. We'll do it, whatever you need us to do, right? And they captivated him, so he came. And so then what they started to do is go down, you know, their vendor list and find different companies that were in San Francisco or the area and could make that move. That's how they found us, because we had been doing business with Tesla.
Okay.
And so um, they brought us out and showed us around, and I asked them what does it take to get a permit to do autonomous testing, or what is this process? And they said, we can get you one in a couple days. We'll just make it happen, right? And that's coming from being in San Francisco, where to get a permit is this long, tedious, could take up to a year process just to try something, and then there's all this scrutiny around it, and you don't really actually get to test what you want to test, because of the handicaps they apply to you. But so they just got it done, and that's how we ended up here. And actually, to go beyond that, they've partnered with Nevada Energy, and our facility that we currently have there, we needed more power, right? We were running all these machines, these robots, all these things. So I asked them, I said, we need 800 additional amps of 483 phase. So, what can we do to get this done? And when you're talking about that much power, that is a significant amount of power. It's it's
a lot of toasters.
Yeah, it's like a community worth of power, right?
Okay.
A small housing development worth of power. And that it usually takes a long time to deploy something like that. I mean, you have to figure out transformers, you have to pull new lines from some power main distribution line, to make this happen. I've actually done this before in a different place, and it takes months to make this happen. And within weeks, we were ready to go. They just made it happen.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're just very ambitious. So I really applaud them. And any other startups looking for a great space where you have a state behind you, like a state behind you. Nevada's the place to do it now.
It sounds very surprising, because when you think about, if you look over past history, like Lucas Studios, Pixar, Apple, all of those companies come from sort of San Francisco, and it seems bizarre that they would maybe penalize people when it's the tech hub of the world, in a sense.
Yeah, it's bizarre how that's happened. I mean, there's still so many creative and great minds in the Bay Area. But every day I'm meeting new people when I'm at the coffee shop or whatnot that are coming over, and converting. So
it's not too bad, is it? You leave the beaches behind and you rock up to Las Vegas, and you got all the glitz, the glamour, the 24-hour.
Yeah.
It's not a bad swap, is it?
Yeah, definitely. And you can always go back and visit,
Yeah, of course, yeah. So obviously, with what you're doing, you've probably faced many challenges as you've gone through, the last 7 or 8 years or so. What do you see as some of the biggest challenges for Aitheon as you go forward?
I think right now, probably as far as on the tech side, we're gaining a ton of partners, and implementation side. So that isn't going to be a limitation to us at all. We have large corporations adopting this, small corporations, small businesses, so many different people adopting this. I see the only limitation I think we're going to have is probably in the ICO crypto space. Mm-hmm. And that's just because it's been abused so rampantly. And it's really hard for any token buyer to differentiate what's real and what's not. And like just yesterday or the day before, who was it? It was came out, and it turned out to be a scam. Yeah, Saveroid. Saveroid came out, and they did 50 million, and then he just left, right? that depletes the confidence in the entire crypto community.
Mm.
And it doesn't help that Saveroid was based on AI, right? Well, that does not help at all, because that does is it creates this dynamic where people now will say, oh, AI, they're not, they're hyping it up, they're saying they can do this, but look at Saveroid or these other ICOs that are kind of taking advantage of this idea, and it causes loss of confidence, right? So I see that as being a challenge for us, but once people really start to understand what we're doing and then see, the videos of our different systems, see people using it and the videos at BTC Miami, and see that we're actually creating substantial relationships that are significant and real. That's the big part, is it's real. I think we'll be able to overcome those challenges.
Okay. Yeah, because I was reading something on that Saveroid. Apparently they ran the ICO, then afterwards they just sort of said, look, this is how easy it is to take money off people in the space.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna refund everybody, but it was just to prove a point. And I think you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people have come into the space and just took advantage in a sense, and it is. But I think the number one thing is, I don't think people do enough research. I mean,
exactly.
I do way over and above. I do like credit checks and all sorts of stuff. So if anyone's got a previous company, I'll check what their credit rating is, and that seems a little excessive. But then if you look at the projects I've invested, they've all done incredibly well. So I think people just need to take those additional steps, just to really understand what they're investing in. Because I think people see, it's like going to Vegas. You see the glitz and the glamour, and before you know it, you go, "Where's all my money?" And it's on the table, and you're waiting for red or black. And it just seems a little bit, people like willing to just gamble a little bit instead of maybe just taking that time, doing a bit of research and just really understanding, what are the gems that are out there like yourselves. So one of the questions that obviously a couple of the viewers have asked is that obviously you guys are very much into the autonomous vehicles. You've talked about Lily, which was great. Is that quite recently there was obviously an incident where someone was knocked down and killed by an Uber cab. Now I've looked at the statistics, and 1.3 million people died in car accidents or collisions, and we're focused on one incident. Can you just talk about your views on that and how it sort of impacts the space?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that incident is going to impact the space for years. I mean, I know we've been asked questions on how we're navigating and handling these sorts of situations now in our software, and it's actually really unfortunate because it comes down to the way the media is really portraying the situation, and on the government side, how they're portraying it, and there's a common misconception that's being created, and I think a lot of that comes from these ideals that are generated by Hollywood and TV and all of these shows where robots are supposed to be here, they're supposed to be this, right? And the moment they fall short of that, even if they're multiples better than humans, in the case the statistics you just stated, right? Even if they're multiples better, if they fail that one time, it doesn't matter how much better they are. It's that they failed.
Yeah.
And we get, humans like to point out failures. It's kind of something we dwell on, and so there's all this hype around, this robotic vehicles, they're not what they say they are now, it hit this woman and all of these things, and it's a very unfortunate, the circumstances of what happened. It's extremely unfortunate, and when you look at the tapes of the driver and the vehicle and what happened there, the circumstances, even with a human driver, it wouldn't have been able to um, been stopped. They wouldn't have been able to stop in time. You couldn't avert that. Um, but the real question it has brought into light is, when you're doing sensor fusion with vision and lidar, what are you giving the weight to? And it seems in that situation, the lidar would have seen this person, but somehow that data was ignored or not processed correctly. So it brings questions into mind, but without a doubt, the driverless vehicles are still multiples better than humans will ever be. We just cannot process data at the rate and accuracy that a driverless vehicle could, and we don't have the attention to do it anyways. We're creative animals, right? We're always often. So.
And I think one of the big issues, like too many people are on their phone when they drive now.
Right.
It's too easy to be done.
Or they're driving like this, right? All they see is this tiny screen in front of them, and I think they attribute that if you're driving well on your cell phone, it's equivalent to driving intoxicated. There's a study out there that they compared this. So yeah, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, the impairment is a real concern.
Yeah, I suppose like you've given some great examples of our expectations maybe as the public. So obviously you're the experts, about our expectations of robots are like up here, like you said. We watch the Terminator as he gets on a bike and he's shooting people and he's doing all sorts of things. We think, yeah, robots can do that. And actually, when we speak to yourself, like actually they're like toddlers, letting toddlers drive Uber cabs, earning their keep.
Right.
And it's like, and I think there's just that there is a big mismatch, and I think it just comes down to some education but also at the same time, you talk about statistics of like, we can't make those many decisions, and that we have focused, I think, too much on this one incident. And actually, if you take, it'll all come down to statistics at the end of the day. When when the whole driverless society, which will happen at some point, and if the deaths go from 1.3 million to say 100,000, people can't really complain about that because the roads are a lot safer.
Right.
But we don't seem to sort of focus on those things.
They get upset that there's 100,000, right? They don't want any, So you need to understand ideals, I suppose.
Yeah, and I suppose you just can't get away from. There's just gonna be situations that you just can't. Ethel is at the side of the road. The computer's gone. Yeah, there she is. I can see her. Don't worry about it. She ain't going nowhere. Her hip gives way and she just falls into the road last minute. And there's always gonna be those little situations that you can't get away from.
Yeah,
no matter if it's driverless, someone's there, the best driver in the world. I just don't think you'll escape some situations.
Yeah, the world is such a dynamic place. You just cannot predict it.
No.
Yeah.
And a crazy place at the same time. And fun. Yeah. So, obviously, we've talked about some of the challenges. What is the biggest thing that excites you going forward with Aitheon, the project, and the ICO?
What really excites me is being able to free two things, really. Three things. Well, a couple things, probably. But what I'm really excited about is being able to give these business owners and entrepreneurs and these creative types that started these businesses an opportunity to get back to their craft instead of spending all of this time doing these mundane things, and share that with them, share the things I've developed to make this easier, because that's where it's really about these core passions, right? I'm a very passionate person, and I want to see other people enjoy their passions. And so that is a huge thing for me with Aitheon, is allowing people to get back to that, that drive, that thing that gets them up every morning. And then with that is the other side of it, of creating these new opportunities for people, so they can use Aitheon as a new opportunity to grow themselves, to travel the world, to do whatever it is that they are passionate about, and it gives them that flexibility of a job to earn a different sort of income. Um, so they're able to take advantage of those things. And then probably the third is the entire creators program and how that works. So these creative types that, want to launch a new product, or build something new, or experiment with artificial intelligence, or write different pieces of software. It gives them the opportunity to do that, where we've built this framework underneath them to support them, and then instantly give them a marketplace to bring that new idea, that new product, that new technology into, where people are looking for those things. And I really think at the adoption rate we're getting, Aitheon is going to be everywhere, and that means that we're going to have a global impact. So it's one of those opportunities where not many people can say they really changed the world, right? And that is important to me. So yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, that sounds very, very cool.
This is why I don't sleep, right?
You're too excited.
Driven, yeah. I'm so excited about it. It's not about waking up in the morning and being excited. It's just never about sleeping. It's just go, 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 and so yeah, this drives me. It's really exciting.
I bet you've got like pure oxygen like they have in the casinos pumping into the Aitheon offices.
Yeah. Everyone comments like, how are you still going? How my friends, they just don't get it. They're just like, how are you even alive? I mean, we like on that trip over when we were traveling, making all these connections. We literally, every person we pushed so hard. We all were hospitalized at some point, just because we're so passionate about this project and what we're doing. We're just like pure exhaustion.
Yeah.
But we're still going. We're like, it's just never ending.
Yeah, because I've seen it on the your Instagram. The your partner in crime. He was. He'd just come out of the hospital or something, because when you said we're just in Mumbai, he just got out of the hospital. I thought you were joking. But
no,
real deal.
Yeah. We've all suffered some damage. We'll call it damage, right? But we just kept going. Yeah. Even when in the hospital, we're like chugging away, working on things. Yeah. So we just keep pushing forward.
I suppose you never know what you can achieve unless you push yourself to those sort of limits as well.
Exactly. And I recommend everyone do that. Just go all out and see what you are really made of.
Excellent. So. Now, the real exciting stuff is that the ICO is literally going to happen in a matter of hours, as people are probably watching this.
It is.
And
it is.
What are some of the key things that you'd like people to take away with, and what they should know about the ICO?
Well, the key thing is, do your homework, and what you're going to find out is this is something, it's not an idea, it's really happening. And Aitheon is about making things happen, and creating new products, and actually getting out there and changing the world. And if you want to be a part of that and change the world with us, then this is where you need to be.
Excellent. And obviously you've got quite a unique bonus structure. How's that going to work?
So we have, it starts out at 30% on the opening, and then it slowly tapers down to 0%, and then at that point, that is the price that will get fixed when we hit exchanges.
Oh, okay.
So the end of the ICO. Yeah.
And just for a big question most people ask, when the ICO finishes, will it be a couple of weeks before you guys are on exchanges, or will we see something quite quickly?
Typically it takes some time to get everything in order for everyone, and obviously we can't say who we're getting on exchanges with. Everyone asks that question.
Yeah. I think it's the number one question. You say, it's a fantastic project, they've got robots and everything else, when's it going on exchanges? You're like, come on, give me some But that's just the way it is. So again, very, very interesting project, very unique. I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic to catch up with yourself, Andrew, in person and get to talk to you. You're one cool dude, man. Really admire all the things that you're doing. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on the channel, taking the time out, especially when the ICO is just about to launch, and sharing all of this fantastic information with everybody.
For sure. Thank you for having me. It's been an awesome time talking to you.
You too. Thanks, man. And all the best.
Thanks. All right. See ya.
As always, guys, thank you for tuning in. Please like, comment, and share. You can follow me on social media or join one of my 2 Facebook groups where you can find out how you can get great discounts on ICOs, but also how you can be involved with our monthly $5,000 crypto giveaway. I'm feeling